"You'll leave like everyone else," she cried, then revealed the truth she'd been hiding. I stayed. "Before we begin, I'd love to know something. Where in the world are you listening from? Tell me in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell me in the comments what you think about this story when it's over. I really love reading your thoughts." Before the storm, nobody would have guessed anything was wrong with Clara. People called her Sunshine, not the bright, loud kind, the soft one, the kind that warms you quietly while you're busy doing something else. She knew every regular at the bookstore cafe by name. She remembered allergies, favorite pastries, breakup stories, anniversaries. She smiled the way people are taught to in magazines, gentle, reassuring, slightly distant. She blended in, like wallpaper, and that was exactly how she liked it. I met her 3 months after I started working there. My job was mostly lifting boxes, stocking shelves, repairing broken chair legs, and squeaky storage room doors. Blue-collar work inside a place that smelled like paper and cinnamon. "Good morning, Marcus." She said it like a ritual. "Morning, Clara." If someone had taken a photo of us standing there, she at the register, me carrying a stack of books, they'd say, "Two normal co-workers. Nice place. Ordinary day." They wouldn't notice the way her hands sometimes trembled when nobody was watching, or how she flinched when customers reached across the counter too quickly. They wouldn't see the way her smile dropped the second she turned away. I noticed, but I didn't push. People are like locked doors. If you try to kick them open, you just break things. If you stand there patiently, sometimes they unlock themselves. And Coda died of this times. The day everything changed, the sky began warning us early. Heavy clouds, the color of steel, air thick with electricity. By late afternoon, rain was falling sideways. Wind shoved the awning. The front windows rattled in their frames. Customers rushed in, dripping, grabbing coffees like emergency supplies. Then one by one, they disappeared again, racing back into the storm. By 7, the store was almost empty. Our manager, Rob, clapped his hands. "All right, folks, let's close early. Power looks like it's gonna cut out. Go home before the roads flood." The barista left first, then the college kid from the fiction section, then the old guy who pretended to work security but mostly read mystery novels. "Clara, Marcus, can you two lock up?" Rob asked, already halfway out the door. "Sure," we both answered. He vanished into the downpour. We were alone. Rain hammered the roof like 1,000 fists. Lightning cracked bright enough to bleach the room white. The lights flickered. Clara stiffened. "You scared of storms?" I asked gently. She forced a smile. "No, just don't like them." She started wiping the same section of countertop over and over. Every time thunder rolled, her knuckles whitened. I swept quietly, stacked chairs, checked the back door, tried to give her space. But then she did something strange. She stopped moving, just froze sponge, suspended in midair. Her breathing grew shallow, uneven. "Clara?" I said softly. "Hey, look at me." She blinked, like surfacing from deep water. "I'm fine," she whispered. Another lie. The storm wasn't the problem. It was just loud enough to drown whatever she'd been holding back. Silence stretched. Then, in a voice so small I almost missed it, she said, "Do you ever get tired of pretending?" I leaned against a table. "Sometimes." She swallowed. "I'm good at pretending. I've been doing it my whole life. If you smile enough, people think you're okay. They don't ask questions. They don't worry. They don't leave." Lightning flashed. Thunder followed. Her body flinched. "You don't have to pretend with me," I said. Her eyes hardened instantly. "Please don't say that." "Why not?" "Because people only say that right before they walk away." She turned from me, pushing through the swinging door toward the storage room. I followed slowly. The storage room smelled like cardboard, coffee grounds, cleaning supplies. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Boxes stacked like towers. A mop leaned in the corner, like a tired old man. She pressed her back against the wall, eyes shiny, hands shaking. "Clara, talk to me," I said gently. She laughed, sharp, brittle. If I talk, you'll pity me. If I show you, you'll leave. Those are the only options. I shook my head. I'm not going anywhere. She snapped. Stop saying that. The word ricocheted off the walls. Her breath came fast. She wrapped her arms around herself like armor. Everyone leaves, she said, voice breaking. Friends, boyfriends, people who promised. They see the truth and suddenly they want something easier. And I don't blame them. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. I am not easy. I sat across from her, not too close, not too far. What truth? I asked quietly. Her eyes searched my face, looking for judgment. You'll think I'm disgusting. I won't. You'll look at me differently. I won't. You'll feel trapped. I won't. She studied me a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice barely existed. I've had 13 surgeries. The word surgeries echoed in the narrow room. Heart, stomach, lungs, scar tissue, infections, complications on top of complications, hospitals for holidays, needles instead of birthday candles. She gave a sad, crooked smile. I grew up learning to pack overnight bags faster than school backpacks. I swallowed. She lifted her hand and gently tugged the hem of her sweater downward, hesitated, then lifted slightly, exposing just enough before dropping it again immediately. Not to be provocative, not to shock, but to confess. I saw glimpses of scars, pale, jagged, ladder-like, mapped across her skin like roads on a worn-out atlas. She hugged her sweater tight against herself afterward, eyes full of shame. This is why, she whispered. This is what makes people leave. They say the right things at first. You're strong. You're brave. It doesn't matter. But then intimacy becomes fear. My body stops being mine. It becomes a problem to solve. A burden. Something fragile they're afraid to break. Her throat tightened. I am tired of being someone people have to manage. Rain roared harder, as if the storm had been waiting for those words. I didn't talk right away, because there are moments where silence is the only respectful thing. I let her breathe. I let the truth take space. Then I said carefully, those scars don't make you less. She shook her head fiercely. They make me complicated. They make you alive, I said. They're proof you went to war with your own body, and you're still here. Her eyes filled. Everyone thinks scars are supposed to be inspirational. They're not. They itch. They pull. They remind you you're never normal. You're not normal, I said softly. You're human. There's a difference. She looked at me through tears. And you're not leaving? I moved closer, slowly, so she could stop me if she needed. I'm not leaving. Why? She whispered. Because I don't see broken, I said. I see someone who survived things most people wouldn't have, and someone who still shows up to work, still smiles at strangers, still remembers everyone's favorite drink. Her lip trembled. But what if I fall apart again? Then I'll sit with you while you do. Her shoulders dropped. The tension slid off her like wet clothing. She leaned toward me instinctively, stopping inches away like she was asking permission. I nodded not with words, but with presence. She rested her forehead against my shoulder and cried quietly. No dramatic music, no romantic miracle. Just a girl exhausted from hiding, finally allowed to exist. And me, sitting on a storage room floor, realizing there are battles in this world you never see unless someone trusts you enough to show you the scars. The storm outside began to soften, but inside that tiny room, something new had just begun. Something tender, something fragile, something true. People think staying is easy. They picture warmth, hands held, soft conversations. They don't picture waiting rooms, doctor forms, panic at 2 a.m., Google searches that spiral into terror, the smell of antiseptic, the silent fear of saying the wrong thing. They don't picture doubt, or how loyalty sometimes feels like walking across thin ice. And accorded, then a brings some then. The weeks after the storm were quieter. Clara didn't suddenly open completely. Truth doesn't spill, it trickles. Some mornings, she was light again. Other mornings, shadows lingered around her eyes. But the pretending changed. It wasn't armor anymore, more like habit. We started staying after shifts sometimes, drinking leftover coffee at one of the corner tables. She talked about little things first. Books, music, her favorite childhood movie. Then eventually, hospitals. "I hate the smell," she said once, stirring her coffee though she didn't add anything. "It gets into your hair, your clothes. You can shower 3 times and still feel like you're made of disinfectant." "Were you there a lot?" I asked. She nodded. "School year, summer, holidays. Kids grow up with memories of vacations. I grew up with memories of ceilings. Same water stain shaped like a fish. Same nurse who hummed while she worked. Same clock that always lost 3 minutes." Her voice carried no anger, just exhaustion. "Did it hurt?" I asked gently. She shrugged. "Pain becomes background noise. Loneliness hurts more. Silence." I wanted to hug her then. But I learned something important. Love isn't about rushing in. It's about letting the other person decide the distance. In process, regord, in dismissive dord. Our coworkers noticed we were closer. Not romantic, not yet, just familiar. Someone teased once, "You two look like a couple." Clara froze. Not visibly, but I saw it in her eyes. Fear, like a bird hearing a branch snap. Later that night, as we locked up, she said, "Please don't let them think that. If people expect things, they get disappointed. And when they get disappointed, they leave." I nodded. "We don't owe anyone a label." She exhaled, relieved. But inside me, a truth began forming quietly. I was already choosing her, before words, before definitions, before promises, into making the Bassarote. The first time she texted me at midnight, my phone vibrated on the nightstand so fast I thought it would fall. "Clara, are you awake?" I answered immediately. "Me." "Yes. What's wrong?" There were 3 dots. Then nothing. Then 3 dots again. Finally, "Clara, I think something is wrong. My chest feels tight. I'm scared." I threw on a hoodie and ran. Her apartment was only 8 blocks away. She answered the door with wide, terrified eyes. She held her palm over her sternum like she was trying to hold herself together. "I don't want to go back to the hospital," she whispered. "Okay," I said softly. "We'll breathe first. We'll see." We sat on the floor, backs against the couch. I counted with her. In for 4, hold, out for 6. Slow, gentle, no sudden movements. After a while, the panic loosened. Her shoulders unknotted. Tears streaked quietly down her cheeks. "I hate that my body decides things without asking me," she said. "I hate that you feel alone when it happens," I replied. She turned to me. "You came." "Of course. You didn't even ask questions. You didn't need questions. You needed someone there." She stared at me like trying to memorize something important. "You'll leave one day," she said, not as a threat, but as if reading a prophecy. "Maybe," I said honestly. "Life is unpredictable, but not tonight." She nodded slowly. And somehow, that answer, not promising forever, just promising now, felt like the right kind of truth. With that and our kind, and tentate side of the ray, over the next months, we stitched a rhythm, coffee breaks, walks after work, text messages like breadcrumbs. "You okay? Rough day. Proud of you. Trust little by little." Once, she traced one of her scars absent-mindedly and asked, "Does it bother you?" "No," I said. "Why not?" "Because it's part of your story, and I like your story." She blinked hard. Nobody had ever answered like that before. And Margoldo's, "But staying isn't poetic. Sometimes staying is boring. Sometimes it is uncomfortable. Sometimes it is sitting in a hospital lobby at 6 in the morning while fluorescent lights buzz overhead, drinking bad coffee and pretending you're not terrified." The day she needed another minor procedure, she warned me. "You don't have to come." "I know," I said. "I want to." She fidgeted with the sleeves of her sweater. "People get scared. They come once, then disappear. I'm not people, I replied quietly. We sat together before they took her in. She squeezed my hand so tight my fingers numbed. Her voice trembled. If something happens, stop, I said gently. One step at a time. She nodded. They wheeled her through swinging doors. I waited. Movies lie about waiting. There's no dramatic music, just clocks, footsteps, announcements over intercoms. I thought about everything I couldn't control. I thought about promises people make without understanding the weight behind them. I didn't promise the universe. I promised a chair in a waiting room and a presence she could count on. Hours later, she came out woozy, but smiling faintly. It went fine, the nurse said. Clara squeezed my hand again, lighter this time. You stayed. Yeah, I said. I said I would. Her smile then wasn't sunshine. It was something quieter. Trust. Where make some placin', where was a proof to NW. We never had a single moment where friendship magically turned into love. There wasn't fireworks, no grand confession, just thousands of small choices. Sitting closer, laughing more freely, letting our hands brush and not pulling away quite as quickly. One evening, we were closing the shop, lost in casual conversation, when she suddenly went quiet. What? I asked. She stared at me nervous, almost shaking. I need to ask you something, and I'm scared to. Okay. Her voice trembled. Do you ever wish I was easier? The question punched something deep in me. No, I said immediately. I wish the world was kinder to you, but I don't wish you were different. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm always waiting for the part where you decide I'm too much. I reached across the counter and took her hand. I don't stay because you're easy, I said. I stay because you're worth staying for. She swallowed. You'll leave like everyone else, she whispered, not testing me, not manipulating, just naming her oldest fear. I squeezed her hand gently. Then if I ever go, it won't be because of your scars. We stood there, holding that truth between us like something fragile and sacred. About this was ever, months later, on a quiet Sunday afternoon. We sat outside on the stoop, eating cheap ice cream. The sun was low, the street calm, kids riding bikes in crooked loops. Clara watched them, soft smile on her lips. I used to think nobody would ever really see me, she said. Just the sick girl, the fragile one, the girl with a medical file instead of a personality. She looked at me. But you see me. Not just the sad parts, not the brave parts, all of it. I shrugged lightly. You make it easy to see you when you let the lights on. She laughed gently. Birds chirped. Cars passed. Life carried on. Then she leaned her head on my shoulder, not asking, just choosing. And I realized staying isn't dramatic. It's ordinary. It's small. It's showing up again and again when leaving would be simpler. It's sitting through storms, external and internal, believing there's something beautiful worth waiting with. People love grand gestures. But sometimes, the bravest words in any love story aren't, I'll love you forever. They're simply, I'm here. And night after night, fear after fear, scar after scar, I kept saying it in actions more than promises. I'm here. And she kept whispering, almost in disbelief. You're still here? Yes, I'd answer. Every time. Because the truth was never that she was too broken to love. The truth was that love is strongest where it is allowed to stay.